Hello, I'm Marites Vitug, and this is Worldview. We look at global, regional, and national affairs in conversations with officials, newsmakers, and analysts. Joining us is Laura del Rosario, former Undersecretary for Foreign Affairs and a veteran diplomat. She has served as ambassador to various capitals. We will assess how President Marcos has conducted foreign policy as he ends his fourth year in office. Welcome to the show, Ambassador del Rosario. I think first let's talk about how President Marcos conducted foreign policy in the past 4 years, since he has 2 more years to go.
All right. I think if we compare him to former President Duterte, the difference is obvious. Because during President Duterte's time, it was almost like the foreign policy is being run solely from Malacanang, right? And then it filters down through his pronouncements and statements, whereas President Marcos does consultations with the relevant departments and agencies.
What have been his key themes in diplomacy or foreign policy, and I mean during these past 4 years?
It's very obvious that he has wanted to focus on the maritime sovereignty issues and enhance defense cooperation agreement. And, you know, when he said, we will not cede 1 square inch of this territory, somehow, to me, that was a focal point of his foreign policy. Now, of course, people will say, okay, so is he now moving towards the U.S. versus Duterte was moving towards China? How independent is our foreign policy? But I think he is aware of the, what they call that, the exigencies of the current situation. He is also aware that he has to do a lot on economic diplomacy because military power is not always the answer. You have to have economic power to go with military power or vice versa. And then, of course, I think he's also working a lot on the national security per se, everything that affects the Filipino.
So you're a former educator, former president of Miriam College. Can you give Marcos a grade? What grade would you give him and why?
Well, this is tough. I'll give him an incomplete grade. He has not yet completed his work, his performative tasks, you know, the assignments. And
ano pa ko ba yung kulang kay President
for one thing,
Marcos?
if you want to go in foreign policy, okay, there's a perception. I thought it's just us in the informed community, a small group, that noticed it. But when I attended one of the 3 events marking our arbitral tribunal, one foreign analyst stood up during the open forum and asked, why is there a lack of coordination between your defense and your foreign policy establishments? That he mentioned, the fact that he mentioned that, showed to us, those who were there, wow, we are showing, you know, our weakness.
Our lack of coordination?
Yes, that's what he said. You don't seem to be coordinated. So for us who were there, it was, to me, it bothered me because it means that we are showing our weakness, which can be exploited by somebody else, right? And at the same time, it dawned on me, is the president aware of that? Are his men aware of that? What are they doing about that? Is it really lack of coordination or lack of coherence? Right? So why don't they cohere? Why aren't they aligned, so to speak? And then, of course, that's just on one side. At the same time, if you're looking at the other things that we have to work on, he's working on economic diplomacy, right? I know it didn't occur during his time, maybe it preceded him. There was a time when the time was ripe for attracting investors coming from China who wanted to move out of China. Many of these went to Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam. And these companies were not just American whom Trump wanted to get out of China, but they were Taiwanese and I think other nationals. So I asked, one ambassador, I said, how many of your companies in Vietnam went to us? In China went to us. And he said, if 10 went to Vietnam, 1 went to you. I mean, that comparison. And this was 3-4 years ago. And no wonder now, when people talk about ASEAN, who is number 4 in ASEAN? It's not us, it's Vietnam. So it's really Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia.
So, President Marcos has said that he's giving emphasis on economic diplomacy and economic relations. And he said we will now work with our non-traditional partners. Sino ho ba yung mga yun? And what's the focus there sa non-traditional partners?
I think usually we think about countries like members of APEC who are like Chile, you know, the promising ones. And maybe Mexico or around the Asia Pacific, that's very clear. But whatever they do, Marites, he has to repair the house. When you invite the guests, prepare it. We are not yet fully developed in terms of IT. I mean, you know our experience with IT infrastructure, with energy. It's still one of the most costly things. And then at the same time, our rules, our labor, I mean, sometimes you wonder, how can Vietnam manage to give those salaries? Can't we not do something about our wage system? Is there something else that we can do that we can really improve without affecting what we call the common tao, right? I'm not saying that give the salaries of the Vietnamese. They have a different lifestyle. If you go there, it's very cheap. They can afford everything. So we can say, so even if they have lower wages, they can buy what they want. The food should always be there, right? For us, security, food security is a security issue. And talking about that, when we talk about our partners on the security strategic alliance, our food, rice comes from Vietnam. Our meat, beef, comes from India. And India has more than 1 billion people. You never heard of famine or shortage of food there. How do they do it?
So you said, Marcos needs to repair the house.
Yeah.
And speaking of repairing the house, during the ASEAN summit in Russia, Marcos said that we need oil, especially because of what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. And he said that he wants a regular supplier, and he wanted Russia to be that supplier. Is that possible given the sanctions? So what are the other options?
Beyond the sanctions?
Yes.
Ukraine has started bombing the oil refinery of Russia. So that means the production will also be affected. Once you bomb the oil infrastructure, everything is affected. That's why I think one of the, I forgot which Middle Eastern countries' infrastructure was bombed. It would take years to recover that. So, you know, I don't know where we could go. If you want to go to Norway, I mean, how far is Norway, right?
So I thought it was a window for Russia to do business.
Except that Ukraine is there.
Yeah.
And I think I can understand also the feelings of Ukraine, a country fighting for democracy, right? And I think it was like the poster boy for democracy, fighting for democracy. And I think Ukraine was disappointed that in a way we're helping Russia, right? I mean, get more resources for its war.
Yeah. So, speaking of security, you talked about security arrangements. The Philippines has entered into several visiting forces agreements with Canada, Japan, France, New Zealand, and now we're negotiating with the UK, and we're starting to talk to Singapore. How are these
DFAs?
Are these DFAs efforts, or it's a combination? Can you explain the process? Yeah.
For me, these VFAs, or in the past we call them status of forces agreements,
correct,
right?
Yes.
They're good. They serve a purpose. For one thing, the joint exercises contribute to the raising of our standards of operation, right? It's like capacity building. And then, of course, these are very useful when we have disasters you know, the military also acts as like they help in evacuation, in delivery of goods and services. They're also good in logistics and supply. They also help in intelligence sharing. Yeah, that's the most important to me. Our relationship with India, I think it goes back to the time of the bombing of the World Trade Center. Remember the one who was
9/11? Was it?
before that? There was a World Trade before 9/11, an event, and that guy was traced from the Philippines.
Correct.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah,
that now.
right.
Yeah.
And that guy came from Pakistan. Who told us about that? It was the Indians. They told us, and then we told the Americans. So there he was apprehended. Yusuf something, I forgot his name. It was the bombing of the World Trade Center, not yet the 9/11.
Before
Leading
that.
to that,
Yes.
yeah, leading to that, yeah.
So,
That's intelligence sharing.
so it's a two-way arrangement.
Yeah. So it's a good thing we have all these VFAs. And then, of course, if you talk about logistics and supply preparation, they will be there. They will not fight with us if there's going to be a war. That's not what it means, except that all the assistance that you need. Because if it's a theater, you know, warfare, you need a lot of resources moving around, moving in and out, not necessarily people.
So do you see also the forging of VFAs with other countries, Europe, North America, as a way to reduce dependence on America?
In a way, or maybe to have, it's like not putting all your eggs in one
No,
basket.
okay.
Yeah, right. And I think the Europeans, it's a good thing that the Europeans have shown interest in us.
It's kaya lang malayo tayo sa Europe, and even if we have VFA with France and then
Yeah.
maybe the UK
Yeah.
coming up soon, Ukraine is still their priority.
Yes,
So what is their interest here in the
it's the sea lanes of communication. I mean, look at the trade that passes through the Asia Pacific. I think it's at 60% of global trade. And if you just have to think of them, we are also one of their bigger markets. If you think of ASEAN, diba? They count us as one region with 500 million consumers. It will affect their trade with us. So, I mean, the fact that we are in a densely populated area in Asia, in the Asia Pacific, we matter. And the Philippines is really strategically located, however you look at it. Yeah.
You were ambassador to India many years ago. Bakit late ang India na nagsuporta sa Pilipinas when we won in 2016 yung ating legal victory? I think they gave a statement of support under President Marcos na.
Because of the BRICS, I think. And Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, right? It's possible that they were balancing themselves. And of course, they are a naval presence. I think they're also very conscious of the fact they have their own naval, you know, their own navy that's flying the Indian Ocean, and the Chinese are also moving towards there, right? I mean, the Chinese now are not just covering the South China Sea in the Pacific, they're moving towards the Indian Ocean.
So we also share a common threat. I mean, India and the Philippines
A common concern.
a common concern.
Yeah.
That's putting it diplomatically.
Yeah, about China. But at the same time, I think they have a special relationship with China because of the BRICS. And remember, a historical ally of the Indians is Russia.
Correct.
During the Cold War, right? Politically divided, they were with Russia. And then Russia is now very close to China. So in a way, just the three of them, they are the big three. So you just have to look at the dynamics, the economic dynamics of the three.
So Vietnam and the Philippines recently entered into an enhanced strategic partnership. Is this a new category? We had a comprehensive strategic partnership with Japan.
Yeah.
Now we have an enhanced strategic partnership with Vietnam.
I think they're just referring to the deepening or the widening, no? And it's also a good signal because they did it during the visit of President Tolam of
Exactly,
Vietnam.
yes.
So somehow that's one deliverable. And I think we have to recognize the fact that Vietnam is the only ASEAN country that's aligned with us in the South China Sea. No one has supported us, right? In the arbitral tribunal except Vietnam. So for me, it's a badge of honor.
And also, Vietnam and the Philippines share a common concern.
Yeah. Yeah.
China.
Right.
So speaking of China, the late Ambassador Tito Santa Romana said
Yeah.
that the Philippines and China can do two tracks of dialogue: security, maritime dispute, and trade and the economy. Can that work? Is that viable?
Trade-wise, we're already trading a lot because if you notice, just go to our supermarkets, everything is made in China, right? I mean, the balance of trade is in their favor. But when you talk of investments,
Yeah, investments maybe.
yeah, investments, there were pledges during the time of President Duterte undelivered. Now, at the same time, is this good or bad? Because there are some countries who say that China uses investments as a way of, how do you call that? When you're managing something, so you say, okay, if you do this, we'll pull this out, or if you do this, we'll give you more. So it has become like, I don't know. I don't want to use the
Leverage.
yeah, leverage. That's the perfect word. Yeah.
So what should be the Philippines' position when it comes to investments from China? How do you balance it?
We have to be very careful because, for instance, look at the investments in the north. People say, we talk to some of our military people, those are well placed, going towards Batanes, going towards Taiwan. So which investment should we welcome? And there are some investments that can affect our infrastructure, whether it's energy or water or even land, right? And while we are in this, people think that we should have a body that should evaluate all investments coming in. Not every investment is a good investment. Some can be a source of threat to our own national security.
So that falls within the jurisdiction of NEDA. They review foreign investments, but there's no national security angle?
Yes. Some people say it should be trade, okay? So maybe it should be a body, right? Because others will say, okay, this is good to further our investment priorities. But the others say, no. But this is a threat to our security. Like, for instance, the investment in the energy grid. Look at energy, look at IT. These are all infrastructure. Water. These should be exempted, they say, from foreign investors. So energy, water, and IT. Have we opened them up? To whom?
But our energy sector it's open to foreign investors.
That's what other people say it should not be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe for the final question before we round up the interview, let's talk about foreign policy in general. You've had decades of experience.
Five presidents, I'm sorry.
5 presidents?
I think so.
Maybe just a bit of background. How is foreign policy shaped? I mean, does it vary? Does the process vary if the president, under each president rather?
I only saw a change during the time of Duterte. Otherwise, the chief architect of the foreign policy is the president. In a way, he says, okay, this will be my priorities. But at the same time, the details, come from the foreign affairs establishment, and they give their own suggestions. And the president doesn't make a pronouncement, which just shocks us. Like, none of them has said, this is just a mere piece of paper, when we work for so many years to have that. I think that announcement shocked the DFA more than any other agency. What? I mean, we spent millions of dollars and how much manpower, and then the next president just casts it away. That's not the way.
So usually, I mean, in your experience, the DFA, does it
Support the, we know more or less. I think there's a discussion on the priorities of the president, and then we support and we give recommendations, suggestions, or we can suggest and say, Mr. President, this needs more attention, right? Like from my experience, during our time, my time, long time, the climate change issue is a security threat.
Was that under President Noynoy Aquino?
Yeah, but it has been building since the time of President Arroyo. So this is something that we keep on telling. Climate change is a security threat. And worldwide they say is the only threat that equals the nuclear bomb. Except that the nuclear bomb occurs in one instant. The climate change occurs in years of accumulation.
So the President Arroyo, I mean, it began under her term.
I think that was, we might have started in 1997 during the time of
President Ramos' time.
Yeah.
So was Aquino, because you were undersecretary already during Noynoy Aquino's time.
Yeah.
Was he receptive to the recommendations of the Foreign Affairs Department?
Like putting a cap on the emission. I think we subscribe to that. Yeah.
So maybe one, I said final, but just one final. Who was the best president?
Uh-oh.
or no, most responsive to ideas from the foreign policy, more foreign policy circle, most consultative, maybe, or most effective?
I think from the general perception, right? Not just my own, President Ramos and President Aquino. Yeah. I think people saw the difference in those two, the way they run their administration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect answers, two, not just one.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you to our viewers. To talk to us about this and other news and current affairs, download the Rappler app for free. Just scan the QR codes on your screen. That's it for today's show. This has been Worldview with Marites Vitug. Till next time.